edition of TradCatKnight special guest video interview right here on the TradCatKnight.org website. Now, folks, I do believe we might have a collaborative effort today. If Max is able to get this up on his YouTube channel, I want to welcome Max's audience as well. He does a phenomenal job over there at the Crow House. You can visit his website, thecrowhouse.com. You can also visit his YouTube, The Crow House, very popular YouTube channel, about 180,000 subscribers. And Max and I cover similar topics, and I would say we hardly disagree on any of the topics that I've had Max on over the past year or two. And we haven't had Max on in a while, so this is gearing up to be a good talk, just as always. Max, let's get things started since it has been a while. What you been up to? I know you some ways ago you were doing a little bit of touring. I think you kind of settled down a little bit. What you been up to? And let's get caught up with everything that's going on in your world.
Well, a lot of the stuff I've been involved in here lately has been combating with the 5G rollout, the smart grid, the smart cities, all that sort of stuff. A lot of action happening on the ground here with people standing up against 5G. We've had a pretty major successes here in Australia, stopping the rollout of this using the criminal code, the laws regarding assault, what determines an assault, when you should consider yourself to be under an assault, what that actually constitutes, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, we're finding that we can use these laws and we can combat 5G. So that's what I've been really focusing on, a lot of that, because, you know, the smart grid is the end game. The smart cities, this is the end game. If you look at what's going on in China, what's going on in India now, it's absolutely hardcore. Thumb scans in India. You've got thumb scans, thumbprints to enter shops, to buy food, to draw money out, to do any of this sort of stuff. And in China, I mean, you can't buy anything without a cell phone and a QR code on your phone. So this is the sort of stuff that we're going to have rolled out in our countries as well. So been spending a lot of time combating that. I've had to kind of put most other things on the back burner to try to stop this 5G rollout and this smart city rollout. So that's been my main focus in the last probably 6 months.
Yeah, I've covered this in times past. I recently had on John Kitson. He's doing some great activist work out there in England. I've had on Deborah Tavares, a lot of people covering 5G. Gerald Salente is even getting to it. Very interesting. You mentioned thumb scans. Just about an hour or so ago, I got locked out of my Hotmail account, right? So I'm like, woo, what is this? It said some type of unusual activity or whatnot. So I was trying to get back in there and make me punch in all these codes, and they say, would you like to go over to the thumb scan version of Hotmail? And it showed like how I'd have to put my thumb up to it. And I was like, no, thank you. I was like, this way is hard enough. It's worse enough. So apparently Hotmail is going thumb scan. I mean, what isn't going to be thumb scan? This is crazy out there, Max.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's all going. I mean, they want to link it all together. That's why they lock you out of your accounts and say they're doing it for your security and your privacy. Just make it all really inconvenient. So, look, if you just put a fingerprint in there, it's going to be all really easy. Just touch your finger on there and it's all good, not a problem. This is how they lead you into it. Yeah, this is absolutely how they lead you into it. So, yeah, throw all that stuff away. Don't do that. I mean, none of that stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it's rolling out everywhere. It's blanket right across the world, and it's rolling out simultaneously in every country. That's the thing. People think all this political theater is happening and Trump and all this. Trump's rolling out 5G. They're doing it all in the United States as well. It's not changing. You know, all of this other stuff is just theater to keep people distracted and make them think that's what's important. You know, like a big war with North Korea or whatever. North Korea is a CIA asset, always has been. You know, a little pet enemy they've got there so they can use it when they need to, you know. But what is important is the smart grid, and we've really got to start pulling away from it and realize this is a massive assault against us. It's putting all of us in prison without the need of actually going there. You know, it's creating a prison system out here in the open, all of our societies. You're going to be monitored in every single thing that you do, including in your own home, if we don't nip this in the bud now. So, yeah, it's important. It's really important. Yeah, thumb scans for Hotmail. Just what you want, huh?
We should probably wave to the NSA right now as they're tuning in and probably listening to this this video interview. I've had several of my podcasts go down kind of very early on, and I suspected someone was probably listening in. But let me ask you this question in terms of 5G, you know, blockchain, the overall system that the New World Order is trying to funnel us into. A, how did they get away with this? B, how come more and more people, I mean, I realize more and more people are waking up, but not enough people. And it seems kind of like too little, too late, to use that expression. And then the third part is give us some practical parameters as to what you're doing. I mean, I know for all intents and purposes, you're off the grid. I try to do as best I can. It's a little bit difficult, when you have to be so connected to the news and trying to relay information and stuff. But I try to the very best I can be off the grid, if you will. But man, how did they get away with this? This is just pure murder, what they're doing to us.
Well, it is, and they're getting away with it because convenience. I mean, people just don't see it. People think their cell phones are their friends, and they don't believe the government could hurt them. They just don't think it could ever happen here. Same as the way everybody always thought it couldn't happen to them. Look at the Bolshevik Revolution. They thought it couldn't happen to them, all this stuff people think can't happen to them. I mean, and with me being off the grid, I mean, I'm only kind of off the grid. I mean, you've got to kind of put one foot in the fiction and one foot in reality. I could go completely off grid and I could stand there on a mountain and say, look at me, I'm sovereign. And no one would hear a word that I say, and I'd never reach anybody, and it would be completely counterproductive. So you got to have one foot in the fiction and one foot in reality. Be aware of what the fiction is, but you still have to find a way of maneuvering your way through it because it's there. I mean, if I was to go completely off grid, I'd have to throw away my passport, wouldn't be able to travel, wouldn't be able to speak to anybody. I have to throw away my driver's license, my car registration, which means I've got to deal with a brain dead police officer every 5 minutes on the side of the road trying to explain to him why I have the right to travel. I mean, it's not worth it. You end up there in this little personal battle and you get nowhere. It defeats the purpose. So, as far as me being off grid, it just kind of worked out this way. I mean, all I've got is a driver's license, a car registration, a passport, and a bank account. That's all I've got that connects me to the system. I don't have anything in my name, no house, no electricity, none of this stuff. So I have no connection to it in that way. So I'm kind of difficult to locate that way. But in the other, I mean, I've still got a car. I've still got, the stuff that people have got. I don't have a cell phone. I don't have a credit card. I just never took to those things. So, I think that sort of stuff helps. But, like I said, you can't be too fanatical about it. Too much, too many polarized people. Too many, if I could even use the word, extremist thinking with the sovereignty. I've got to be completely sovereign, so I've got to disconnect myself completely. It's counterproductive. And same with people. You learn all the legal stuff, and they learn it because they want to go and fight the judge. I don't want to fight the judge. I want the judge to go away. I want to have the words that I can use if they ever come for me. I can inform them that, hey, they've come to the wrong place. Right. But I don't want to fight anybody. I don't want to battle anybody. I don't want to go and battle the system. The system's a cloud. If you're learning all this stuff because you want to go and battle a cloud, well, how sane is that? You're fighting a fiction. What are you doing, Right. So that's kind of the mentality you got to have when looking at it, I think.
Well, you and I are both visible enough to where, they're obviously still attacking us via censorship. Wanted to get the latest with you, how you're holding up. Give us an update to the YouTube page. I mean, my people know, again, if we're going to be doing a cross collaborative effort here, so your people know I've got 2 strikes on YouTube now. I've had it for quite some time. I've had to privatize 99% of my work. I've got over 2,000 videos. I only use it for promotional purposes now. And again, TradCatKnight.org is a WordPress website, and you know how the anti-Zionist websites are being pulled down. You've seen the Ugly Truth go down in recent times. John Rappaport, his WordPress went down too. I'm not sure if he's an anti-Zionist or not. I can't recall. But in case, WordPress websites are going down too, and that's what I use. But how are you holding up? How much longer can we carry on here to even make a living doing what we're doing by trying to get the truth out? And I know you per se don't make a living doing what you do, and the message is more important than the monetary aspect. But there's a lot riding on the censorship issue here.
Oh, there is, and I don't know how long we can keep doing it. I'm surprised that my channel's still up there, but again, it's because I've never monetized. I've never partnered with them. A lot of the people they pull down, they do because of AdSense laws and advertiser agreements and all this sort of stuff. So, they've never been able to use that against me. And I'm getting hit severely. Like they're deleting my subscribers. They delete them at a rate of about 10 an hour. They delete. I watch them drop. And people resubscribe. And people tell me, oh, Mass, I had to resubscribe 14, 15 times to your channel today, and you're not coming up in my notifications. You're not coming up in this. I mean, people have told me they've got to use a VPN, some of them, to access my website. All my podcasts, someone's been uploading my podcast to iTunes for me. They've got it all linked up to my YouTube account. For the last 2 months, no one can download my podcasts. People get signs telling them that my site is insecure when they go to it. As for my website's an old HTML website. They've been trying to get me to go over to WordPress for so long. and they're kind of limiting me on my website now, telling me I'm taking up too much room and all sorts of stuff, you know. I mean, it's an unlimited space website. It's been there for 12 years, 12, 14 years I've had that website running. And they're starting to sort of come down on me a little bit now. They did put a strike against my channel. They tell me I was limited from uploading for 3 months, and then they gave me that ability back up to 2 weeks. I'm not sure what that was about. But yeah, I don't know how long it's going to last. I really don't. But I just keep putting out. I haven't pulled any of my videos. You know, when they put in their new regulations, I just went, well, screw you. I'm not gonna censor myself. And yeah, again, I mean, I walk a really fine line with what I say on the show. I mean, I know I can go so far and not get censored. I can get the message out, but if I cross that line, I'll get censored. So you've got to kind of work out. It's the same when I go on Press TV. You know, I do a lot of stuff for Press TV, and I can say an incredible amount of truth on that, which is a mainstream television station. But I've learned that I can only go so far. If I want to get out on YouTube and I want it to be published, I can only go so far. If I cross that line, they won't push it. So you kind of got to learn where the line is, and you can get right up to that line, and you can tell people what they want to know if they can just hear between the lines enough, and you can kind of avoid the censorship that way. So, I mean, I've been kind of walking that line for a long time, but as I said, I don't know how long it'll last. I mean, I do what I can, and we all do what we can. I've got stuff up on BitChute as well, so I've got my YouTube channel linked to my BitChute channel. So maybe it'll continue there. But hey, we'll just keep doing. We'll just keep pushing until we can't push anymore. And I don't think, even with all this, I mean, as you say, I don't think that humanity's going to wake up. I once did, but the majority of people are just going to lead us into this smart grid anyway. So it's really getting to the point now that after even like nearly 12 years on the radio show, 11 years, nearly 12 on the radio show, I'm getting to the realization that it's really time for people to start looking out for themselves. Make sure you are secure in your own life with your own family, and just prepare for what's coming, because the 99%, the 90% of sleeping masses are going to lead us into this grid anyway, whether we want to be led in there or not. They're just going to go along with it, and that's going to drag all of us into it, you know. And we can do what we can, but just make sure that you are looked after, your family's looked after, and that you have some sort of a plan for, you know, a bug out bag or whatever you're going to need, because it's all coming down pretty quickly, brother.
Now, in terms of New Zealand, talk to us a little bit more about that specifically. What areas do you know are specifically being turned into smart cities? We kind of see here in the United States, it seems like the plan is to get people off of the coastlines. That's what Deborah Tavares seems to think. But all these, you know, weaponized, you know, technological devices they have, you know, directed energy weapons, geoengineering, starting these wildfires, starting all kinds of crazy storms or whatever, flooding areas out, and then kind of pushing them into maybe areas that they want you to be in. You know, ultimately, I think people will be dragged into FEMA camps, and I'm not sure if that's a reality in New Zealand or not, whatever you want to call these things, re-education camps or not. But talk to us about the climate in New Zealand, what's happening there, and then also give us an update. I keep track of all the earth changes and a lot of the earthquakes, and I've seen New Zealand since the last time we talked over the past 2 or 3 months have had a decent amount of quakes up and around that area. Give us an update what's going on there too.
Well, look, I haven't really kept track of what's going on with the quakes in New Zealand and stuff. I'm not from New Zealand. I'm from Australia, so
okay.
I don't know a lot about what's really going on the ground in New Zealand. I mean, I was kind of looking at all that Christchurch shooting and all that sort of stuff, but
right.
I don't really know what's going on.
Australia, then, maybe. I apologize.
Yeah, well, the smart cities, I mean, they're really rolling out here quickly. Darwin, and there's something like, you know, over 1,000 applications for smart cities here in Australia. You know, suburbs within cities and stuff like that. You got a city within a city, like whatever. So there's been a lot of applications for, but the success we're having is through the assault laws, you know, like using the criminal code of each state to figure out what constitutes an assault, and we're pushing back that way. So we're kind of stopping it in that way, but they're going to do it anyway. I mean, they're going to continue it. If we get around it this way, they'll just find another way to push it out. You know, and they've done it before. They've done this before. They eliminate the population and reset the population all the time. I've been really looking at history lately and finding all sorts of remnants of cities and civilizations just like this, with telegraph poles and all sorts of things that exist in the Florida Everglades, and old traces of old suburbs and all this sort of stuff. So it appears that this happens all the time. They just continue to reset the population. Once we start to become too awake, I guess they just wipe us out in some way. How they're going to do it, I mean, it's anybody's guess. There's a lot of predictions out there, like with what Deborah Tavares is saying. I haven't actually listened to a lot of her stuff. I had a contact with her, actually. Someone connected us. I've been meaning to have her on the show, or at least have a conversation with her. But I haven't had anybody on the show. I don't have too many people on the show these days. I just don't know who to trust anymore, brother. So I don't know who to have on anymore.
I've done podcasts. It was who, after the fact, they'll email me like within 24 hours of doing a podcast, and they'll maybe listen to some rumors or something about me, and I think you might be a shill and this or that. And then they'll actually email me apologizing a week later saying, "Hey, I'd like to be back on your show." I'm like, "What is it? Am I a shill or am I not a shill? Where are you at?" So it's crazy out there. Everyone's paranoid.
I get it all the time, man. I get it all the time. You can't disagree with anybody over anything, or you're suddenly a shill, And there's no discussion. It's shill.
Right.
It's as soon as you disagree with anything, oh, you're a paid agent. It's crazy.
Now,
divide and conquer is the motto.
When we're talking about 5G, Max, I raised a point the other day, and I forget who my guests are. I bring on so many guests, I fail to forget what I was, what specific guests. But I raised the point. With 5G, the EMFs, we all know it's harmful to our health, the breakdown, of the cellular function, but then also just basically it's a giant mind control tool. But I argue, perhaps this is what the New World Order wants, is a world on edge. You see it kind of in the world around us, whether we're building towards, a large scale war or revolutions in each country. It seems like, as you mentioned, you can't disagree on a certain point without someone like lashing out at you. Like, God forbid you say something against Trump. I mean, talk about walking the fine line. You could lose an awful lot of friends on Facebook in one day by talking about Trump. Because I know you and I agree it's all theater. But my goodness, maybe there's something a little bit more to that. Maybe with these frequencies, they're controlling and manipulating behavior a little bit. I don't know. What do you think? Is that too far?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, emotional control through frequency. Absolutely. I mean, they do this all the time. They can induce. Just look at the DARPA patents. There's you go to my website, go to the recommended reading section or essential reading section, and there should be a list there of 100 DARPA patents for EMF mind control, all this sort of stuff. So emotional control, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they can do all of this through frequencies. And you're right, they want us all completely stressed out. And even with the health aspects of 5G, I mean, the health aspects are very bad, but there's a lot of people saying, as soon as they turn it on, we're all going to get cancers, we're all going to melt down, everyone's going to die. And when that doesn't happen, people will throw the baby out with the bathwater as well. What it's really all about is the surveillance grid. I mean, and it's a weapons system. Sure, they can target you, they can cause health defects, they can cause all sorts of things. But ultimately, it's about surveillance. It's about mass surveillance, the Internet of Things, everything talking to everything else, everything with a camera in it, everything with a chip in it. Complete lack of privacy on all aspects of it, every single place. You won't even have privacy in your bedroom. The way it is in China at the moment, and in Dubai, there's people say it's like living with a stranger standing in your bedroom. That's what it's like, the surveillance state over there. So that's the really bad aspects of 5G. That's what people aren't realizing. And everyone's scared of all this other stuff. And, and they're just waiting for these health problems and all this stuff. They're not really looking at the other aspects of it. And that's the important part, the surveillance and the tracking and the fact that they will have tabs on absolutely everything everybody does. And then they'll just squeeze people out of the system. You just suddenly become an undesirable. That's how the FEMA camps will fill up.
Yeah.
And people won't even see the disappearances. They'll just disappear. And no one will even want to ask about the disappearances, because if you ask about it, you might become a person of interest. The way it is in China. They've got all the Muslims disappearing in China. They're going to what are called vocational centers for re-education. And you just don't talk about it, and because I don't want people wearing head burqas and headdresses. I don't want anyone covering up, and none of this stuff, because everything in China has got to be, total mass surveillance of everybody. So, and whether you like Muslims or not, you can look at that. Okay, this is a targeted population, and what's happening to them. It doesn't matter whether you like Muslims or not. It's like that old quote by Pastor Nimolia. When they came for the trade unionists, I didn't complain because I wasn't a trade unionist. It's the same thing. They're coming for the Muslims. People aren't complaining because they're not Muslims. They want to see the Muslims go away. They don't realize that this is all technology that's going to be brought out and come to you as well. They're just using it to test it on these people to see how the public reacts. Oh, you're okay with that? Okay, well, now we come for the next group, and then the next group, and then the next group, and then we come for you. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's what they continue to do right here on Max Igan's YouTube channel, folks. He's got several talks over the past, month discussing this dystopia rising situation that we're dealing with. What the government is doing is worse than you could ever imagine. I recently had on Robert Steele and Bill Binney, that ex-NSA whistleblower. I'm sure you've seen all his videos. He's all over the place. And he argues it's worse than 1984. And I put him on the spot. He's like, Eric, right now it's far worse than 1984 could have ever depicted, and it's going to continue to get worse. So what should we look forward to next, if we could say it like that? I mean, we already know what's happening now, but ultimately, how much worse could it get?
Oh, it can get a lot worse, yes. It can get a lot worse yet. When we can't buy or do anything without tracking, when we need thumb scans, when we need cards, when you simply cannot buy, it'll get to the point where if you do not become part of this system, you will not be able to purchase anything, and that's when it gets bad. And that's what's coming. I mean, unless we can push back against it, that's what's coming. I mean, I see all this as an opportunity for human freedom, but I think through it all, I mean, ultimately, this is a soul harvest. It's a spiritual battle, the whole thing. So, even as it does get worse and worse, you've just got to get stronger and stronger and shine your light brighter and brighter. And that's all I will continue to do. If they take me down, well, I don't have any fear of death anyway. So, that's what it's going to come to, Eric. It's really going to come to people just standing up and saying no. And if we don't, then we're going to get led into that system. If we don't go, then we'll have to face the consequences. It's just going to be as simple as that. There's not going to be any way around it. We can change it, and if we don't, then we're screwed. Simple,
Now, what do you make of, well, let me follow up with this. Yeah, of course, it's in scripture, the mark of the beast system. From our perspective in the Catholic world, it's always been taught since the earliest proponents, the earliest apostles that talked about how the Antichrist would be a Jew. He would have this system, this one world. Eventually, it'll be the communist system. I argue it's going to go from socialism during the tribulation and morph into all-out communism, kind of fulfilling what Lenin says, the end game of socialism is communism. So right now, it's all we got to share the world's wealth, and we all got to come together and share and do this and that. And then at a certain point, the Antichrist will show his true colors. Then it's, they'll come for not only you, but they'll come for your property. They're going to come for everything. They're going to see you as a personal asset. So I agree with you there. In any case, I wanted to get your take, your analysis, if we could move over to Trump specifically now, and feel free to piggyback off anything I just said. But I don't know if you saw this, but Epstein apparently has now been charged. And so there's a lot of, I know what I was going to ask. It was the whole populism movement. Let's move into that. Populism, the revolutions that we're kind of seeing now. Is this staged or controlled opposition, or is this genuine in your opinion? Can the Rothschilds control that kind of false right?
I think all of it's pretty well controlled, but then you're going to have genuine elements in it. People want change, and they find something they think they can believe in, and so they go with it. A lot of people, they need something to believe in, and they have kind of polarized thinking. They've got this one little focus. They're not looking at the bigger picture. So we'll provide all these little pockets for them to come into, and we'll think that they're actually making a difference. And they get to express themselves and express their emotions and fight for a cause they believe in. But when you look at the leader, where the people at the top of the cause are actually leading it, it's all part and parcel to the same thing. It's all controlled opposition. It's all gatekeeping, the whole lot. We could change the world in a day if we simply stopped complying with our own slavery and stepped away from the system, supported each other instead of supporting this system, step back into our moral compass and just refuse to comply with anything which causes us to step outside our moral compass. Do that, change the world in a day. You don't need to join any movement. That's the thing, but people want an outlet. And they think, as I said, they've got some little cause they believe in. Could be abortion, could be this, could be that, whatever. But it's a focus point. And it isn't the bigger picture. They want people
Yes.
involved in these little focus points, so they're not looking at the bigger picture. And then I'll fight with all the people involved in all the other focus points. Divide and conquer. My focus point is more important than your focus point. It's all the same thing. It's all the result of government corruption, which has created all this situation to begin with. And you're just out there trying to put a Band-Aid on a symptom rather than addressing the root core of the problem. So yeah, they're all controlled. They're absolutely controlled. But again, the people within them are probably genuine people who really want to make a difference. They've just seen that, okay, this is something that might work. And so they go with it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I did an article about a week or so ago indicating I believe, the whole populist movement, revolution, it stems and fits in the Catholic prophecy kind of endgame narrative that these revolutions would happen. We've been long expecting them. And I think, unfortunately, many Christians and people of goodwill get caught up in it. Like, say, for example, on Trump, it's sort of like a knee-jerk reaction to want to kick back against globalism / socialism or whatnot. But then when you really investigate this guy, he's not really who he says he is. That's the whole point. And most people don't want to hear that these days. And, from my perspective, a lot of people don't want to hear about the apostasy in the church. So they whitewash that. They don't want to hear about Trump. They don't want to hear about a lot about this stuff. So they kind of just roll with whatever they feel is in the majority at that time. They want to stick out like a sore thumb amongst their own neighbors or whatnot. And that's what's dangerous. When you fall to that sin of human respect. Feel free to pick up on that. But Trump specifically, I don't know if you saw this. Apparently, Epstein's now going to be thrown in jail. And just some years ago, Max, when I would interview people or I would do media appearances, we always kind of taught in the kind of Christian conservative world that the economic collapse was going to be bad, and then martial law was going to be bad for the United States. Now, all of a sudden, Trump gets in, and the economic reset is a good thing, and now martial law will be a good thing. And a lot of people got concerned. I don't know if you saw that 4th of July parade that Trump had in D.C. when you saw the tanks rolling in, and I was like, oh, I didn't necessarily say something was going to happen, but I'm like, we're kind of inking towards that time where perhaps something does happen. But talk to us a little bit more about martial law, where you stand with that. I mean, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is Trump really going to go after the pedos? Again, you mentioned focus point. I think that's one of those things, focus in on the pedos and they kind of forget the more even grand picture than that, than human and sex trafficking.
Well, yeah, I mean, even focusing on Epstein, I mean, he's a public figure. Okay, he did a lot of bad stuff, and he's out there. We can hang him out to dry. If you're going to arrest Epstein, well, shouldn't you be arresting Bill Clinton as well and all the people who went out there with him to his island? I mean, there's a lot more than just Epstein. He's just a figurehead that they can hang out to dry. And, if Trump's going to be doing this, I mean, it looks great for the truth community. Throw them a bone. And, oh, look, he's in there on our side. While he's doing it, he's rolling out 5G, saying we need to lead the world in 5G. So it's all theatre. The whole thing's theatre. I mean, Trump's a puppet. He's part of the system. The whole thing's there isn't a politician on earth that isn't part of this. That's just the way it is. If you think there's any remedy in politics, you're missing the point completely, because there is no remedy in politics. The whole thing is racketeering. I mean, Trump could get out there and just tell the truth and do the right thing. It doesn't take 2 years to arrest people. We've been hearing all this QAnon, all this stuff, going to be mass arrest, going to be this, going to be that. And now they'll have Epstein and they'll go, oh, look, here it is, it started. And they'll sit there and they'll wait another 2 years while the 5G rolls out. And they'll go, well, Epstein was released, see, it started. But that was 2 years ago, So it's just the way it is. It's just theatre for the masses, mate. And Trump, I don't have any faith in any politician. Trump, you look at where Trump's funding comes from. Edelstein and all these sort of people who bailed him out. Jared Kushner, his involvement with Ivanka. I mean, Ivanka's really pushing herself out there in the limelight. She wants to be president. Ivanka, she wants to run for president one day. You can tell. That's why she's putting herself out there. Her face is there, and Trump's taking her everywhere he wants her out there as his public figure. She wants power. She might be getting a lot of payouts at the moment. People are saying, "Oh, she's imposing on conversations and this," and they're giving her a bit of a hard time. But she wants power. That's what all this is about. She wants to put her face into the right places because she wants to, become part of the dynasty, the Trump political dynasty. So, it's not what people think it is. Trump is not the savior. Trump's not going to save America. Trump's just leading America down the same garden path it's always been led down, whether people want to admit that or not. If he was, and like you say, with Epstein, I mean, there's the Clintons, there's all sorts of people that were involved in that. Why aren't we seeing these people? Look at DynCorp. Look at the human trafficking that's going on through Haiti that the Clinton Foundation is involved in, and all of this sort of stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
none of this is being addressed. None of this is being addressed. You can hang Jeffrey Epstein out to dry, not a problem. You know, people will like that because he's the public figure who had the Lolita Express and all that sort of stuff. So you get rid of him, and it thinks like you've got rid of this whole bad thing, but you haven't. He's just a figurehead. And even if he is arrested and taken away and put in jail, he'll probably just go out the back door and go live somewhere else and be back on his island. We'll never know.
They'll put him in a golden corral or something.
Yeah, something like that. They have a little show trial and just lead him out the back door into his private plane. Off he goes and say, "Don't come back to the coast for 5 years. You're supposed to be in jail."
Yeah, but maybe he'll be dead, like, or maybe he'll still be alive, like Osama bin Laden was dead for like 10 years, and then they try to pin 9/11. Oh, I'm telling you what,
that's a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's a good one. He said, putting out video after video, getting younger and younger as he does it. Amazing stuff, you know.
Mass deception on all levels. I'm with Max Igan, the one and only from thecrowhouse.com. If you're coming over from Max's crowd, get over to TradCatKnight.org today. You know, they have so many different ways they can pull off, you know, this whole false utopian society, utopian in quotations. I mean, they got the false flag angle where, you know, after the fact, they're coming for our guns. They're telling people we all got to get together and come along, push aside our differences. You know, then I believe they'll push what the New World Order calls the Great Culling, epidemics behind it. Then we've got war in general. We've got revolutions. But another agenda that we've gotten into, I think, in times past was the UFO phenomenon that we've been seeing. And it's being ramped up tremendously here in the West. You know, all kinds of viral videos of, you know, videos of UFOs being seen on the back of various news programs. And there was this major supposed sighting out in Kansas City a couple of weeks ago. Wanted to see what was happening out your ways if it was being ramped up in Australia. But I can tell you this, I just saw that Spider-Man movie, not necessarily for the entertainment value, but because they always put out these agendas and predictive programming. Guess what they were demonstrating in the movie? Project Bluebeam, and staging like a horrific alien-like figure coming to attack the city of London, and we all had to rally together. I mean, it's right in front of us in the movies. I mean, it's crazy. But in any case, I'm all over the place. So talk to us a little bit more about these various agendas, what you feel is coming with the UFO phenomenon, and we'll go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, well, look, you know, it's a possibility they could use Bluebeam, they could use it, but a lot of people are aware of it now. A lot of people are waiting for something, you know, Project Bluebeam. If they were to stage some sort of a UFO event, you'd have about 40% of the world say, "Oh, that's Bluebeam, that's false," you know. But then you don't know, is it? Are they doing that because they want you to think that? It's crazy, you know.
Right.
So, you know, I've learned with all this stuff, I just don't believe anything, and I don't want to believe anything, and I don't have any stake in anything being true anymore. I just kind of watch it and I observe and I just kind of see where it's going, and I think, well, okay, it's going to go either to point A or point B, and I'll see which one works, you know. And you know, you can't too many people come in now and say, "Oh, well, I have an opinion on this, and I view what this is going to happen," and we don't know. We don't know. I've long since learned that nobody really knows anything about what's going on here. You know, we've got all of these ideas and all these opinions and all these theories, but we don't really know. And they could do anything. I mean, maybe there are other races visiting here. Maybe other races don't exist. Maybe the whole thing's theater. Maybe we're living in a matrix. Maybe all this is a hologram. Maybe this is simply a soul farm that we come here and we're given all this stuff, and it depends on the choices that we make as to what happens. You know, I mean, we've all got the choice to go wrong and to go bad and to believe in things that aren't real and to believe in things we shouldn't believe in and to do all these things. We've got choice to mess ourselves up completely, you know, and it's all put there for us. It's the choice that we make. And it's the same with all this. I mean, even promoting all this stuff is saying, well, I know what they're going to do. How can I possibly know? How can anyone claim to know what they're doing with the whole UFO agenda and to even know whether this is real and whether it's not real? And this is another, just more stuff they give us, I think, brothers, so that we're not paying attention to the world that we live in. We're not paying attention to ourselves. We're not paying attention to each other. We're not paying attention to our lives. We're not doing what we should be doing, what life is really about. You know, we're focused on all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's all to do with this system and this society and this economic system. You know, when we think of UFOs, we think of something like some big space invasion and, you know, ray guns and all this stuff, which is just, it's all Hollywood. A Hollywood version of what it would mean to have visitors come from another world or whatever. Or, I mean, you know, we've got all these ridiculous perceptions and concepts of what this is, and ultimately nobody knows, brother. But I don't think they get away with the blue beam thing. Too many people know about it. Too many people are ready for it.
So
Too many people are expecting it.
The people will probably want to ask me this, or ask me to ask you this. Who are the reptilians? I'll be honest with you. Some years ago, listen, I listened to David Icke in times past, and I would agree with most of what he had to say. But then I get to the reptilian thing, I'm like, man, he's way off the rails. And I stopped listening to him. Then I was like, okay, from our perspective, during the end times, it's talked about how the fallen angels and demons would arise. And perhaps they are cloaking themselves and working with, various governments. I don't know. I throw it out there and I just kind of put it on the table for people to kind of discern themselves. So what I once thought was pure crazy talk coming out of David's mouth, like, I don't know. Maybe it is real. Maybe Trump is a reptilian. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. You don't know. It's people who say they do know and they say, oh, this is ridiculous. They throw the idea out. Well, hang on. You can't throw any ideas out. I'm open to it. I'm open to anything. One thing about David, I've got to say, I mean, he's a very intelligent man, and he's rarely wrong on anything. He said a lot of stuff, and it's all come true, And for all the bad press he gets, I mean, I kind of like David. I've met him a few times, and we don't hang out or anything, but I like him. And he's a nice guy. And out of all of the alternate media people out there, the prominent alternate media people out there, he's the only one who actually supports my work. He publishes all my shows on his website. He promotes everything I do. He totally supports what I do. So I have not got a bad word to say about David Icke. I think he's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
And whether you agree with his reptile thing or not, I mean, it's pretty out there. But who can say? Like I said, nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's people who say they know. That's the problem.
Well,
we don't. Even David says he doesn't know. So
I had one lady come on. She was a renowned psychologist. I forget, like from Europe or whatnot. And I forget what topic we were talking about. But she point blank, and I thought she was a credible lady. She point blank came on the show and said, "Hey, listen, during one of the sit down talk with one of these people, she said she saw this person change into some kind of reptile figure. Now I don't know why she would come on my show and try to discredit herself by saying that if she wasn't of good intention. You know what I mean? Like, why would you try to do that to yourself? So I don't know. I mean, I leave it out there. Now I know one of the areas that all three of us definitely agree on is that we're obviously anti-Zionist. From our perspective, it's a heresy. It's only been introduced the last 100 years or so. I know you're an activist trying to get all you can out there. What's been some of the latest you've been doing? Are you still receiving backlash? I mean, I still get it all the time from people who just don't want to see clearly on the issue of the Palestine issue and the atrocities that have been happening. But give us an update in that area in terms of your activism.
Well, that's getting. I've been doing what I can. I mean, that's getting very sad as well. What's going on in Gaza and in Palestine with Trump again? Trump's given Israel an incredible amount of leeway. Israel's got away with so much stuff in the last couple of years that it hasn't gotten away with before. Massive aggression against the Palestinian people. It's very difficult to even mount any activism in regard to Gaza, in regard to Palestine, because the way the YouTube's being censored, the media's being censored, you can't even say the word. You can't even say the J word anywhere. You can't even post a comment on YouTube. Usually they'll just delete your comment in real time. It's gotten that bad. So it's kind of being swept under the carpet. And with Trump's deal of the century and all this sort of stuff, all designed to make it seem like the Palestinians simply don't want peace when it's the other way around. Yeah, it's a shocking situation. And as I've said so many times, if we don't heal Palestine, the way of Palestine will be the way of the world. And the more you see Palestine decline, the more you start to lose hope for the rest of humanity and hope for us ever to find our way out of this grid that they're moving us into. It really is a gauge we can measure ourselves by, measure our own moral compasses by as to what we allow to go on there. And what we do allow to go on there will come to us. It will come to our hometowns as well. So that's the important factor. It's a forgotten people. The Palestinians are a forgotten people, and they have no voice. And it's gotten worse. It's gotten far, far worse than what it was when I was in Gaza in 2012. And with all of the activism that I've attempted to bring some light to that situation, it just seems to have gotten darker. It really does. It gets very difficult sometimes. It gets very draining on the soul, very sobering to put so much energy into that and to get so little in return.
Yeah.
So little, positive results in return. It's been a very, very sad situation, and yeah, it's something that I think about all the time. But it's got to the point that I can't think about it too much because it hurts too much to think about it. I can't put too much energy into it because it'll drain me too much. I simply don't have that energy. But then I wonder if that's the way they've designed it as well, so
Yeah,
that you can't put focus there. It will just suck you dry.
it's
This
true.
has been going on since I was a kid. It's been going on for 60 years, this
Yeah.
situation in Palestine, 60, 70 years.
That's a very interesting comment you just had. I've had some analysts who I've had come on in times past where we talk about these various issues today, Max, very eloquently, very deeply. We're able to expound upon it, and then I'll bring them back on like a year or so later, kind of give us an update. And they've tapped out. They don't want to talk about it anymore. I'll give you one such example: David Dees, that cartoonist, the New World Order cartoonist. He's got famous. I remember bringing him back on last year, and he told me, Eric, I can't deal with it anymore. Like, I think I was sort of gauging like he almost had like a mental breakdown. That's how he was trying to describe it on my live radio show when I was doing it at the time. And he just wanted to focus on the positive. So that's what I wanted to get into now is like having faith and hope in these dark times. And, obviously it's a lot of dark news around us, but I mean, I always argue you can't take yourself too seriously, have a sense of humor. You shouldn't dwell on this stuff. Even though we're doing a 45-minute piece today, it's not like I walk around and think about these things on a daily basis. I mean, you got to go out there and be a positive light, as you said. But, man, it's tough having faith and hope and trying to resonate some type of positivity in the world.
Well, no stake in the outcome, brother. This is what I keep telling people. You can have no stake in the outcome. If you have a stake in the outcome of this experience, you've already failed. You won't make it through. You can't have any stake in the outcome. Live every life day to day, and enjoy the moment. Above all, while you're here, enjoy your life. Enjoy life. Don't look at this stuff and be depressed and living in fear. I mean, I can look at all this stuff. I find it incredibly empowering looking at all this stuff because I can see through the matrix. I can see my own life path clearer by looking at this stuff. If the world destroys itself and all these people out there die and kill themselves, well, that's not my problem. I have no stake in that. I have no stake in their souls. I offered a better way. I tried to show that, hey, look, there's a different way we could actually be doing things, folks. This is pretty ridiculous. But even that, I'll laugh at it because of the pure stupidity of the human experience. And I have no stake in this. If the human race destroys itself, what do I care? I'll be gone in a breath anyway. I'm only here for a moment. So you can't have a stake in it. You absolutely cannot have a stake in it. I mean, I do what I do because it needs to be done, and I can see the right way through. I can see a clearer path. And so I say it because I have no fear of these people. They're just people. What are you going to do, kill me? Well, no one gets out alive anyway. One of the things I came here to do was die. That's a given, So it's kind of what I do while I'm here that's important, because that other bit, that's coming anyway. I can try to avoid it. I can eat health food. I can do all this stuff and believe that if I do that, I will live forever. No, not going to happen, folks. You came here to die. So no stake in the outcome, any of it. Enjoy your life. I do what I do because I enjoy helping people. I love seeing smiles on people's faces. I love seeing their eyes light up. I enjoy all this stuff. So, no stake in the outcome, brother. No fear in any of this.
Yeah.
If we end up hitting a wall, well, we hit a wall. The experiment failed. I'm sure God or whatever will try another experiment. Go, well, that was a complete mess up. Let's do it this way this time, But hey, you gotta put them there and let them mess up. Put the human race there and let it completely destroy itself. Because somewhere through that, you might find that little spark of there's that little golden bit that we needed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it's all about. So yeah, no stake in the outcome, brother. Just go for it. Go for it. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I think it's exciting times. Our motto is faith over fear. I always tell people, keep your eagle's wings spread and faith and hope. But the New World Order, as you know, they're trying to live forever with their transhumanist agendas and AI, and it seems like they want to live to be like 2,000 years old. And I'm like, why? Why would you want to be here for that long? And I know you've covered these topics in times past, and I recently had on Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, which I'm sure you're familiar with her work, anti-vaccine expert. We've been trying to get that agenda put on the table. It seems like we're arriving at a medical police state where everyone's going to have to be vaccinated at a certain point. Otherwise, you won't have a job. You won't be able to pull money out of your bank account or whatever it is. And I remember talking to her after the show, Max, and after explaining kind of like what we kind of see happening, she's like, well, why would I care anymore? Should I just check out? And I was like, no, Sherry. I was like, no, you got to keep fighting. There is no other Sherry Tenpenny that can do what you do. You're the only one that can do what you do. If you check out now and just, put yourself on some cruise ship and forget about everyone else, think about all the other people that, could have been impacted by you not, staying in the fight. So I encourage everyone staying in the fight, like you said, Max, until the very last moment. But I believe these are exciting times as well. In any case, last area, Max, and I'll let you go. Do you see? Has your opinion changed on whether or not there'll be war? I know last time we were on, you seemed to think that there wouldn't be war. I guess my analysts, my guests, it's kind of like a mixed bag now, 50-50. I think it's just going to be saber rattling. Other people think, yeah, it'll eventually be war. Where are you at now with this latest false flag with Iran? Do you see some kind of blowback here in the United States, like another 9/11 Osama bin Laden situation to get us into war?
Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they could just sink a tanker in the Gulf or something, but Israel's really pushing it. Israel really wants Iran gone. So they're doing what they can to kickstart that. But, I mean, most of it is saber rattling. Yeah, and Trump's kind of appeased the situation there with North Korea and this little bit of theatre that's just gone on there at the moment, which is all complete theatrics, Even when you look at how the placement of the fleet near Iran and then this little trip with North Korea, how he smoothed the waters there, you kind of, it's all political. It's all to do with the election. So, I don't think there'll be a war with Iran straight away. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll try to push it, but I don't know. I don't even know if they need it. The threat of it is very, very effective.
Right.
But whether they actually need it, because if you look at Iran, what's happening in Iran? Oh, it's 5G. It's the smart grid. Wow. Surprise, surprise. What's happening in Cuba? Oh, look, it's 5G. It's the smart grid. What's happening in Russia? Oh, look, it's 5G. It's the smart grid. It's happening everywhere. So, and there's been enough outcry as well. I mean, so many people, as soon as he went in there and started rattling the sabers there, so many people went, okay, this is just a stupid war with Iran. This is ridiculous. This is not acceptable. Even I put out a video saying a stupid war, the upcoming false flag and a stupid war with Iran, because it just looked like they were setting it up for. And then the next week they have that tanker incident and then the drone. And come on, I mean, this is just such theatre. I mean, like the tanker incident was so lame, and then the drone was so incredibly lame after that. That I mean, I think you'd almost wonder whether Trump did that just to make it completely ridiculous. So Israel can't push the war with Iran. If they do it now, after the tanker and the drone, it's going to be so obvious to the world that they've just set this up that they won't get away with it. So you got to wonder what the mission was there as well. I mean, it was just completely stupid, that whole scenario. So almost the tanker and the drone is almost ensured that there's not going to be a war with Iran, because that was just too ridiculous. And too obviously staged, that if they do another one, well, yeah, I mean, they'll have to wait a little while if they do another one. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But like I said, and even with nuclear war and big worldwide war, there will never be a big nuclear war, because, nuclear war destroys all business, and the world's run on business. And the nuclear war is not beneficial for everybody, whereas the threat of nuclear war is highly beneficial for everybody. So they want to keep that going. It's more the threat of war that works with the people rather than war itself.
Yeah, using fear to keep the people in their place. Yeah, to get across their various agendas. No doubt about it. Thanks so much, Max Igan, for joining me in this particular video interview. Again, if you do run this on your YouTube channel, folks, get over to TradCatKnight.org. My podcast, I do 2 to 3 podcasts Monday through Saturday. I bring on all the top guests. Whether it's anti-Zionist, I'd say I leave no stone left unturned as it relates to this New World Order endgame. So any of the stuff we talked about today, CERN, Project Bluebeam, all the agendas that we talked about today are covered on a daily basis. So please do get over. And Max, now I allow you some shameless self-promotion time for my audience, who predominantly knows you already, but we always have new people coming. So please do get out whatever you'd like, and then I'll close out the program.
Well, yeah, you'll find everything about me at thecrowhouse.com, folks. All the links there to my YouTube, to my Facebook, to whatever. There's nothing to buy. It's all free. No subscriber section. Thecrowhouse.com.
Good stuff. All right, folks. Thank you all for tuning in to this particular TradCatKnight special guest video interview for this July the 8th, 2019. Until next time, my good friends, stay safe and God bless.